Now, if you follow the order, the next training zone is base training, zone 2 training. I did a longer post about that 4 or 5 months ago. You can watch this, or maybe put it also in here, but that's not my job. Yeah, so as I said a few months ago, it's actually the training zone where we spend most of the time in. And this is why it makes it, that's why it's such an interesting training zone, because we can train a lot of time in that zone. So this is actually why it's interesting. So what kind of adaptations we have? Cardiovascular health is increasing, blood volume is increasing, cardiac output is increasing, mitochondrial density is increasing. So all these kind of nice things that happened. And the zones, if you define zones, there are of course a lot of different kind of ways to do it. I always say the best way is to have a metabolic idea of your body, so not defining the zones on one number. Yeah, it's not your threshold number where you calculate your training zones, or not your VO2 max and 100%. It's always a mixture of your glycolytic system and your aerobic system to get an idea. And yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, it's important that you hit the right zones, but always also keep in mind that zones are flexible. Yeah, especially the base training zone. So some days you feel good and you are very good. Yeah, you have enough carbs, glycogen is full, and you will fly. Yeah, you feel amazing during the training ride, and the weather is also fine. So maybe you ride 20 watts more than usual, and on other days it feels pretty hard. Yeah, so keep track of that, and look at your heart rate. This can be a nice indicator if you fueled well or not. Yeah, if it's too low or too high. Yeah, it's all the different examples. If it's not normal, I would say, then you should do something. Maybe rest, maybe eat a little bit more. Also, is training zone, are the zones always the zones? Yeah, even if the heart rate is okay, or you can also trick your heart rate if you, for example, change your cadence, higher heart rate, lower cadence, lower heart rate. So also if you measure lactate, is it still the zone? Yeah, so keep that in mind, that zones are, especially zone 1 is, it seems pretty to identify, but it's not that simple to always hit the right spot. So, and the best advice I can give you, listen a little bit more to your body. Yeah, look at heart rate, look at power, and do the simple talk test. You can still talk, I don't know, 5 words or something like that. I don't know how many, yeah, but you actually hit that zone. If something dramatic happen during the training, usually your heart rate rises. This is always a sign of fatigue, which is absolutely normal in the beginning. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah? If you start training again, then your heart rate rises. Yeah, and the question is, should you try to pedal in the power zones, or maybe have a closer look on your heart rate? I can't decide that for you, to be honest. I can only tell you how I do it. Usually I have an eye on my heart rate, because this is for me a more reliable indicator of what's going on in my body. But I also do a mixture out of that. If I do for example a 4-hour ride, and I haven't done that for a long time, I know that my heart rate will rise, and sometimes I just push the numbers. Yeah, and I know that I will get the adaptation out of that. Yeah, and my body, it's a little bit more shocking for my body, but anyway, I will adapt. Yeah, so yeah, but on the long term, I look a little bit more on the heart rate, especially if I do training by training and training. If I have like a continuous training over days, I would have a closer look on how you really feel, how your heart rate is, than on the power numbers, because the accumulating fatigue will then sabotage your training, so to say, especially if you are glycogen depleted. So yeah, keep an eye on that. If you only have limited time and not so many days of training, yeah, it doesn't matter if you go a little bit too high, yeah, as long as you don't destroy yourself totally and only ride tempo training, no problem.